Hi, we're continuing with life science and cell biology in a nutshell. We were learning about the different functional groups and molecules. So, in the previous section, we were learning about nitrogen containing groups, which are the ones shown right here. Previously, we learned the oxygen containing groups and just CH, carbon hydrogen groups, carbonyl groups previous to that. So um so the last of these groups, okay, pyridines, so those are all containing nitrogen. Oximes, carbon double bound nitrogen, um they may contain OH groups. um Bound to the nitrogen. So anywho, and names of radicals and moieties. So names are used referring to moieties, or radical species, um, to form names of substituents in larger molecules and halides, which contain chlorine, fluorine, bromide, iodine, um, halides. When the parent hydrocarbon is unsaturated, um, use the suffix "ill", illidine, or illidine. Um, so ethane becomes ethyl, for example. The ane is replaced by "ill", YL. Unsaturated means that it's a double bond. Or the final E is replaced by "ill", so ethene becomes ethanol. So multiple single bonds differ from a single multiple bond. Methylene bridge has two single bonds. Methanyl diol. A methylene group has one double bond. Two single bonds, one double bond. So methylidene triple bond with Y and E ending. Methylidene single bond, double bond, has an E and E ending. Methanyl TRIYL has three single bonds. So just some specifics, just get an idea of the naming. Let's see. So the classes of the chemical compounds may have single, double, triple bonds. A C double bound to oxygen, is a carboxylic or oxyl group. So previously we were learning about cell membranes, and the molecules inside cell membranes, which make up the properties of the membranes. Membranes contain ether bonds as well as ester bonds. In archaea, the lipids in the membrane of phospholipids contain ether bonds. In eubacteria, the membrane lipids contain ester bonds. So ether bonds are branched. Ester bonds are straight in comparison. And this is referring to the fatty acids and how they are bound to the within the phospholipid molecule. So ether is a group comprising of a carbon bound to a substrate or R on one side, on the other side bound to a single oxygen bound to a CH2. In simplest form, it is a carbon to oxygen single bond, or CO. However, ester is a group containing an extra oxygen than an ether, a group comprising of a carbon bound to a substrate R on one side, bound to a single oxygen, bound to a CH2 or carboxyl group. So, in other words, a COO, a C, So it's a COO. An extra oxygen is double bound to the carbon, bound to an R group. The R group is a variable group. In simplest terms, an ester group is a carbon bound to two oxygens, one via a single bond and one via a double bond. So here showing ether with the CO bonds. These have branched tails, fatty acid tails of the phospholipid. Unbranched tails, in ester linkages, you have a C double bound O and a single bound O. So that's what the ether and ester linkages look like in phospholipids. So you have straight fatty acids with ester linkages and branched fatty acids with ether linkages. So this difference makes the difference between the plasma membranes of archaea with ether linkages and versus bacteria or eukaryotes with the ester linkages, with straighter unbranched tails, and eukaryotes and bacteria with ester linkages. So again, the functional groups and different molecules that affect the molecule's reactivity are shown here. They can have alkanes with 3 carbons and hydrogens, alkenes double bond carbons, alkynes triple bond carbons, benzene rings, 6 carbon rings. Amines have nitrogen, alcohol is an OH, ether is an oxygen, singly bound to carbon. Alkyl halides have carbon bound to fluorine, chlorine, iodine, or bromine. Thiols have sulfur. Aldehyde is carbon double bound oxygen and a hydrogen, another carbon. Ketone, carbon double bound oxygen and another carbon replacing the hydrogen. Ester, carbon double bound oxygen and extra singly bound oxygen. Carboxylic means is like an ester with an extra hydrogen instead of a carbon. Amide is a nitrogen group with the C double bound oxygen.